Hey, folks, what's going on? Glad you guys could join us tonight. Here with my guest, Mr. Joedy Cook of the North American Dogman Project. Joedy, it's great to finally get you on here and get to talk to you a little bit about some stuff.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Um, I guess what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start off by letting you talk to our listeners a little bit. Tell them about a little bit about yourself and the Dogman Project.
Well, prior to getting in the cryptid field, I did UFO research for the longest time. I belonged to a group called ASK, Associates for Scientific Knowledge. And this was back in the 80s, going into the 90s. We had this is when public access TV was going around and there was no cable at the time. And we did a live TV show the first Wednesday of every month where we talked about UFOs and just, different sightings, had guests in, people would call in. It was a really interesting show. I mean, it played in like 3 states. A lot of really good feedback on it. And we were getting a lot of Bigfoot reports and other cryptid reports and stuff. So they needed someone to handle that. So myself and George Clapperson went ahead and took charge of that. And that's how I kind of got into the cryptid stuff. I did a lot of the Bigfoot stuff for years in Ohio. When I first started out, I just strictly did Ohio, and then I started expanding out a little bit. And then kind of got more and more into the different cryptid stuff. Because Ohio, we have a lot of different cryptids here. We got the Dogman, we got the Betsy, the Great Lakes Monster. We got the Frogman, we got the Melonheads. Just a whole lot of different, crazy stuff going on down here. A lot of alien stuff because we, right past, like 45 minutes away from me. Just a lot of, different stuff. So, I kind of expanded into that and, doing it for the longest time. And then, I was getting Dogman reports, but I never really followed up into a lot of the stuff back in, the 80s and 90s. And it really wasn't until about 2006 is when I started really getting into the Dogman stuff. And that's when I formed the North American Dogman Project. And I was just doing it for myself for the longest time. And then Adam Davis and Dave Jones kind of got in with me later on. And we officially got it rolling about 2016. And from then on, it's grown. I mean, tremendously. We have close to 30 chapters in the United States. We have chapters in New Zealand, Australia, South America, Canada, Europe, the UK, Ireland. I mean, it's just grown. We got 500 members plus. So, we are the largest Dogman research organization on planet, literally, because there's no other organization out there that really does what we do. There's smaller groups, and so what the North American Dogman Project decided to do was create an organization called, the International Dogman Researchers Association, and where we try to bring in all the different researchers to work together to share information on a common goal of finding out what this is. And we're going to probably get that rolling here with the Facebook page and probably a website in about a month. So
awesome. What led you to getting into the Dogman research? Did you have a sighting of a Dogman that got you rolling with all this?
No, actually, I didn't. It was just getting a lot of reports. A lot of reports here in Ohio. A lot of reports. I was really, like I said, I was really into the Dogman stuff because the first time, I'll give you an example. The first time I heard about the beast of land between the lakes was in 1987. Prior to going in the military, I was a deputy sheriff, and I was at a police seminar in Kentucky. And after the seminar, some of the other officers there, we all just went out and had a beer, just start talking about some of the crazy stuff that happened, in your field. And one of the Kentucky State Troopers was telling us this story that he responded to at Land Between the Lakes about a killing that took place there by a monster, is what they said. And, they described it as a werewolf type thing. And he was telling, how hectic that night was, with so many different agencies there, the FBI. He said that, there were 4 different coroners from 4 different jurisdictions that were there, and that was like the really first time I really got into, the Dogman stuff. And then I start, reading stuff about Ohio, like the Defiance, Ohio case, the Norton Dogman sightings that was going on, and Silver Creek Park, and, the Michigan Dogman, the Beast of Bray Road, the Shenango Valley werewolf in Pennsylvania, and just really getting into it. And it kind of grew on you. And it was almost to a point it got to be a deception, because I was doing Bigfoot for a long time, a long time. And I love the Bigfoot stuff. Don't get me wrong. But, I just got tired of the BS that was going on in the field, in the Bigfoot field. And I was kind of looking for an escape. And that's when the Dogman stuff started going on, and, got in heavy with the Dogman stuff. And I mean, I love it. I mean, there's definitely something going on here with this, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on, with me, and a couple other the researchers on the team, that's just some really, really crazy, stuff that's it's not coincidence and things. So,
that's cool. And a little bit earlier today, for a few minutes, and we were talking, Bigfoot community has gotten over the past couple years, which is in turn is the reason why I dropped out of the community altogether. A lot of egos, and like you said on the video last night, clicks, and it's ridiculous. It just turned me against it altogether, and it's sad.
In the rest of the cryptid field's getting that way too. I mean, here in Ohio, we have the Ohio Bigfoot Conference that everybody goes to, and it's nuts. Don Keating, when he ran it, Don and I were in competition with each other for a long time, and but Don, felt that you got to give other researchers in your state respect and show. So Don let other researchers show. Now the guy that's running it now, he doesn't. I mean, he brings nobody in from Ohio. They're all outside people. I think for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been the same people year after year after year. And, what's so nuts about it, and I mean, the cryptid field's getting that way. I mean, we have CryptidCon, not your CryptidCon, but the other CryptidCon, and what's, I mean, that's ridiculous. His site, okay, if you want to speak at his conference, you got to go and fill an application out. And you have to give 2 personal references that he wants to check to find out you are who you are as a researcher. Okay. But yet for the last 3 years, he's had the same people over and over again. And, he had 1 or 2 people, but not one person who ever spoke at CryptidCon for the last 3 years ever filled out an application to be there. Okay. This is their way to weed out people from being there, is to do this application and, to check references. And I mean, just crazy stuff. It's their way of weeding the people they want out. And it's all of these large Bigfoot conferences, like the International Bigfoot Conference, the Bigfoot Roundup, all this stuff. It's the same people, because all these people who run these events, all they want is to set a certain group of people saying, this is who you need to listen to, and you don't need to listen to everybody else. And that's bullshit. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Okay. And it's getting to
I agree.
I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's absolutely nuts, because there is no experts in any of these fields. There is no, experts. I mean, it's nuts. You know, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm still learning stuff. You know, and to say that, you know, I need to listen to somebody who's been in the field for 5 years, 2 years, or whatever because they wrote a book or, you know, they got to go on to different TV shows that, you know, they're experts. That's bullshit, you know, and that's the problem with the field. You know, I had one researcher sit and tell me, you know, because they had a post about a conference, and I said, you know, this conference has same people year after year after year. Let's hear new blood. And this one real known researcher, you know, responded back to me saying, no one's going to pay to see a nobody. Well, a nobody can't be a somebody until he gets up there and listens and talks. Because here's the thing, you know, who wants to go to a conference and listen to the same, you know, BS that you heard 2 years in a row from the same person? Okay. But the thing of it is, these researchers like you and some of these other guys, Mike Cook and all that stuff, those guys, they probably have something. You probably have something, but you don't have the opportunity to go and share what you have, okay? Because these guys who run these big conferences, they don't want you to be the person to have it. They want their people to be the one that has it. And that's all what it comes down to. They don't want a nobody to come up with the $1 million picture, the $1 million evidence, or whatever, okay? Because God forbid, you know, their friend is not getting their, you know, 15 minutes of fame for the 150th time. And that's all what it comes down to.
That's true. My conference back in 2018, I'd already had set out to the little man, little researcher that's about, but has the great evidence and is truthful of what they're doing. They're not trying to be popular or anything like that. And
Exactly.
I can actually say that we have done pretty good the past couple years with our con and stuff. And but it just the whole situation of today's community has just completely turned me against it, and I decided to go back into the paranormal community just on the basis of that, because of the arguing, the drama constantly. It's like you couldn't even get on a group, somebody arguing over something, whether it's a picture or evidence or something like that. It's ridiculous.
I know a researcher who is extremely well known in the field. Extremely well known in the field. Been on TV 100 times, done books and everything. I literally saw him go off because somebody didn't recognize who he was at a conference. Literally go off. I mean, some of these people are in the field for this, you know, for fame, fortune. A lot of them, you know, I mean, they're knowledgeable, don't get me wrong, but they're in it for the wrong reason. You know, they want somebody to go ooh and ah and, you know, stand in line and see them and all this other crazy crap. You know, that's not what this field's about. This field is about respect. It's about the evidence. It's about the research. You know, that's all. That's what it's about. You know, you never put yourself before your research. You never put the research before safety. Okay.
Yes.
And none of these researchers understand that. You know, never put yourself first. Never. You know, because I'm telling you that in today's society with Photoshop and all this other stuff, it doesn't matter if someone comes up with $1 million photograph. It's still going to get, you know, ragged on, because you're never going to know if it's real or not. You know,
True.
You know, the thing of it is, I mean, there's ways you can tell, you know, if you do metadata on a photograph or something like that, you know, then you can tell it's legit if you have the right software to do it and you have someone to do it. You know, we have someone, you know, in our organization who's associated with MUFON. And, you know, those guys, I mean, they've got some of the high class stuff where they can take a photograph and analyze it to the point where they can tell you what type of phone, what type of camera took it. They can tell you the GPS of the area that picture was taken, everything. And this person, works with us, and a lot of our stuff we send to her, and and she checks it out, and some of the stuff we get back, shows whatever in that picture was in that picture at the time, it was taken. These people, they know what they're doing, and you have to have people like that, and you have to, be able to be skeptic when you're in the field, when you present evidence. Don't, I mean, my God, I remember when I first got in the Bigfoot field, I was so excited, and everything I saw was Bigfoot related. All that tree branch was broken. Must have been Bigfoot. That, indention in the ground. Oh, that must have been Bigfoot, and then as time goes on, you'll learn,
Yeah, that's basically what some of the researchers that I know of, right off the bat, every little tree break or structure is Bigfoot related. And you can't look at evidence like that. You have to be an investigator. You got to be able to discern what's the real deal from the fake stuff.
Exactly.
And if you can't do that, then you're probably in it for the wrong reason.
Right. And the thing of it is, your researchers have to think like this. Okay. If I find evidence, okay, I have to look at myself as a lawyer. Could I present this evidence to a Bigfoot or Dogman court or cryptid court and persuade the jury that's what it is? And that's how you have to look at it. If you look at a piece of evidence and you think about that, and if you don't think you can do it, then don't do it, because your instincts are telling you you're probably right. It's not what it is. Okay. And that's the way you got to think when you deal with evidence. And, you have to understand when you're dealing with evidence, you got to be careful too. My biggest thing, what I tell people, don't mess with scat. Okay. Don't mess with scat. It's got bacteria in it. You can get sick. It's
Yes.
biohazardous, and you're really not going to find out the DNA of what dumped it. If this thing eats meat, you're going to end up getting DNA of whatever it ate anyhow, and it's going to sit there and contaminate the DNA of whatever let it go. So it's really not worth it. It's all right, fine to take pictures of it. I mean, we got pictures of it. I'm not kidding you, man. This thing's probably 15 inches long, and as round as a baseball bat, and some guy took it on his property, and he's got pit bulls, and these dogs will not go near, the area, and that's fine to do the investigation, but don't stay away from that stuff. You need to worry about like hair samples, if any type of blood you find, just saliva, whatever. That's the evidence you want to deal with. Stay away from scat. I mean, that you can really get yourself sick. You can die from that, dealing with that, touching that stuff, because if that animal's got distemper, if that animal's got rabies, it's in the scat. So you got to be careful when you deal with that kind of evidence. Deal with the evidence that you really need. And that's any type of bones that you find, teeth, blood, saliva, hair. That's the stuff you want to deal with.
Okay. Let's touch on some more of the Dogman and stuff real quick. I've got a question for you. My question is the Dogman report to date that you have taken yourself?
Crazy as, funny crazy, or just like amazing crazy?
Amazing crazy, and maybe even the scary. Start off with that one and then go into maybe the scariest witness report that you've also done.
Oh my God, the craziest. I mean, we've gotten some. Well, here's one that's really interesting that we've got. There was this couple that was walking around the cemetery, okay, and the husband and the son's walking, the wife's behind them, and she's just like snapping pictures, okay, and they go back and they look in the pictures, and you can see right there. I mean, it's standing next to a stump. is this large canine, and it's on all fours, okay? But you see the high pointed ears. You can see the muscles in the arms and in the chest, excuse me, of this photograph. And, you know, how they missed it was beyond me. I mean, literally beyond me. And they've had Dogman sightings in that area that they've actually seen, you know. But that's got to be the most wildest, because this picture is really amazing picture. We don't have it posted on our site or anything like that, because, you know, it's so much of an odd picture. We know that it wasn't photoshopped in or anything like that, because we had the photograph check. Okay, what was there was there. Okay, but it's kind of a weird picture. The best one, the two best stories we had, I can probably say three best stories we had come in were, you know, law enforcement, and all three cases were very, very different. The first one came from a police officer in Louisiana. This guy's going down the road. Okay, he sees a large canine in the middle of the road eating something, so he pulls right up on it. Okay, he's probably about 10 feet away from it, and he's got the lights on it. He sees it. He even has it on dash cam. It stands up, looks at him, starts running towards the vehicle. It jumps on the hood of the car and starts smashing the windshield. He throws his vehicle in reverse. He's throwing the lights on, throwing the siren on, trying to get this thing off, and it wouldn't. So he pulls the car, flies back, stops, twists the car around, throws it off, and gets back to the station. Now, this thing busted the windshield. It tore up the hood of the vehicle. It busted the lights on top. He's got it on dash cam, and he reports it to his shift supervisor. Shift supervisor goes out, looks at his vehicle. This guy's shooken up, shows the video to the shift supervisor and some of the other officers there. They tell him to go home, come back tomorrow. He works night shifts, comes in. His vehicle's completely made over. It looked like it never happened. He asks his shift sergeant about the video. His shift sergeant acts like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's pressing it, and his shift sergeant sat and told him, "You need to drop it, or I'm going to have to send you to have a psychiatric evaluation." So they covered this up. They had physical evidence. They had blood from the vehicle for where this thing was busting into the windshield. They had it on camera, and their department covered it up and threatened this officer with losing his job. The second one was really good. It was from the DEA, and these guys verified they were DEA, everything, you know, because when we got the email, you know, where they wanted to talk, we're like, oh, wow, yeah, DEA. So we talked to them. They sent us verification, you know, showing that they were DEA. You know, we got them on the, you know, internet and everything. So they were legit. Now, they were a sniper team. Okay, they were out in Louisiana in the bayous training, because what they do is there are meth labs and all kinds of stuff out there, and they have to go in there and clean the stuff out, you know, and you know, arrest these people. Well, they were all wearing ghillie suits. So they're coming back from the training exercise. Okay, they had weapons on, but no live ammunition. Okay, except for their revolver or their sidearms that were basically under the ghillie suit. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Sorry. Sorry, as my wife can do. And
you're fine. It ain't no big
okay. Deal. Okay. Thanks. And as they're coming down the road, two of them were coming across the road. Okay. And there were like three of them, I think. I think it was like three of them at the time. And they're looking at each other. And they're camoed up. You know, they got ghillie suits on. And they're looking at these dogmen. And the dogmen are looking at them. And they're, you know, kind of like looking at each other like this. You know, then they're growling at them and things because they didn't know what these guys were, you know, and then they go ahead and they move on. you know. And they said this was like the weirdest thing. They talked to their supervisor about it. The supervisor told them, don't mention it, you know, leave it alone and stuff. But they wanted to fill a report out because they didn't know what they had. Because when they went back to the station, they were Googling werewolf because that's what they thought. And if you Google Dogman werewolf, North American Dogman Project's the first one that pops up there. And so they, you know, looked at our website and contacted us, and you know, we've been in contact with them, and you know, they said they don't go back out in that area. You know, they don't do it unless they got live ammunition, you know, on them. They said they're not going back out there. So the third one with the law enforcement was in Indiana. This whole department, everyone in this department have seen the Dogman. They've gotten calls on it, okay, in this area in Indiana. So it's nothing new. Two of the officers on the department has never seen it, and they never believed in it. They thought the other officers were nuts. They were just giving them all kinds of hell. And they were out on the road one night, and there was like an area that was off of the road that were like, if a, you know, because this is like a 2-lane highway, and it's a long stretch road, and you know, sometimes truckers will stop there to sleep and stuff. And they saw this thing sitting in there, and they thought it was a bear because of the size of it. And then they go right up. I mean, they said we literally pulled right up on it, and they're seeing the back of it. And they blow on the horn. They said the thing doesn't move. They throw the lights on. The thing doesn't move. You know, and they're like, man, this is a huge bear. And then it stands up. And so they see a long tail, high pointed ears. They saw the arms, you know, like a human. And it turns around, looks at them. And then it goes down on all fours, and it walks by the vehicle, kind of goes around, you know, the passenger side. And the officer said this thing was so big, the back touched the lights on the vehicle. That's how big this thing was on all fours. And he goes, we're true believers. We are true believers. This whole department has seen these things. Now, these are the best, okay? But what I consider the cream of the crop were the ones coming from the military, okay? Those are the cream of the crop. So we got a guy that was in Baghdad in Iraq, Camp Victory, okay? And they're at one of their listening posts on top of a building. So they're able to see down in the town. And he said they, on their night vision, they caught this large canine coming in from the desert, okay, coming into the town. And what this thing was doing, it was just going through like little areas. They were able to see it, and they were not being able to see it. And it finally came out into where the streets were. So they got a report of what they believe were insurgents that were coming into an area, you know, and they told to keep an eye out for these insurgents. And these insurgents ran right into this thing. And they said they saw this thing rip these guys apart, literally rip these guys apart. They said it was a werewolf. He said it was a werewolf. He said, you ever seen that movie Van Helsing? That's what it was. You know, that's one. And then we had another one. Guy was in Afghanistan, Kandahar Valley. They were on patrol. The patrol broke up. They were in, you know, a hillside. The guy heard screaming. He goes on top of the hillside to see what it is. He sees 2 dogmen killing 3 insurgents up on the hill. He said these dogmen were wearing body armor, like Halo, like a Halo type body armor. You know, really weird. He said they were really weird. They didn't have a helmet on. They, you know, he said they looked like wolves wearing like a spacesuit, like a body armor. And they killed the insurgents. And he said that they were like sniffing in the air, like they kind of knew he was there maybe. And then they end up moving on. Then he saw this like blue flashing light, okay, which is not uncommon with Dogman sightings. Then we had a Canadian soldier that they were in a gully in Kandahar Valley in Afghanistan. And what happened was they said there was, where they're looking this way, And off to their right was kind of like a very large building. And they heard all these kids screaming. These kids were just start running, on the other side of the building there, passing them. And they said all these dogs started running. So they thought the dogs were going after the kids. So they opened up on the dogs. And then one of the guys shoots off out of a 203 a smoke grenade to that area to kind of, just get the dogs out. And he said this large werewolf comes out of the smoke from around the building wearing like a thing around his waist, something maybe like a skin or something like what a pharaoh wears or something like that. Very, Egyptian looking, and he said it was a werewolf wearing one, just comes out the smoke out of that area and was basically watching the dogs. And they said, hey man, they opened up on it and nothing. It didn't do anything and it moved on. These are the crazy stories that we get. We get a lot of stuff from the military. There's more. There's a lot more that we get from the military. And these guys are all describing these things wearing body armor and a blue light either before or after. And they really believe that these are extraterrestrial connected. So what we do at the North American Dogman Project, we take all of these reports and we break them into different, areas: supernatural, flesh and blood, and extraterrestrial. Because you have to, because you just get all these different reports. You just don't know, what type of category these things are. Are they a predator? Are they supernatural where they come through dimensions? It's like, possibly like a skinwalker or something to that effect. Or are these things extraterrestrial in nature? And what's so interesting when I say extraterrestrial in nature, you look at, say, Star Wars, okay? George Lucas, when he did Star Wars, he had a lot of friends at NASA and very high places at NASA. And he was able to see things most people at NASA would never, ever see. And give you an example, for years, they've been this picture of a ship sitting in a crater in the moon that was taken by NASA, one of the Apollo missions back in the 60s or 70s. And this ship looks like the Millennium Falcon. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Richard Hoagland wrote a book called Dark Mission. And I suggest everybody read this book because it's awesome. And in this book, there's a photo by NASA for one of the Apollo missions. I think it was Apollo 11, Apollo 12, something like that, maybe. And there's a crash site in a crater, and there's remains of what looks like a robot in the crater, and you can see it really well. The head looks identical to CP30. I kid you not. There, you can Google this picture, Richard Hoagland's Dark Mission, CP03's head. And there's a color photograph over there.
I've actually seen that photo. It's wild for real. It is.
It is wild. And so if you look at the bar scene, there's a werewolf in the bar scene.
Yeah.
So did he know that, there's a alien species of canine? Because if you look at, I found this book that was printed like in 1978 or 1979. It was a book that Star Wars put out about like all the different characters in there and kind of like their background and things. So they have the werewolves in there, and they're wearing body armor, which I thought was really neat. And you hear all the different stories from these guys that are seeing them in body armor. So are they, extraterrestrial? Did they come here and possibly mate with wolves and the flesh and blood dogman that we have here? That's what they are. What we have. The people we talk to in the military, they swear these things are extraterrestrial. They're hunters. They are predators. They come here to hunt, simply to hunt. Not hunt human as far as they know, but hunt other animals. Because they're able to blend in, with other animals. So we don't know. I mean, like I said, this Dogman field is so amazing because you just don't know. You just can't put your finger down on what this thing is. The Skinwalker Ranch. The guys that are getting reports out there. We talked to a lot of guys that done investigations out there. Talking to a guy now that's doing a documentary on it, and he saw a blue, like a light, and this Dogman appears. Large wolf-like canine appears and starts walking to him, and then it disappears. So I mean, there's all these different ranchers in this area that have seen these things. We're talking with some people right now that, that their livestock's being attacked by these things, and they're seeing them. They knew they had a Bigfoot in the area because they've seen this Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot never bothered anybody, never bothered the livestock. Well, apparently one night they're hearing this Dogman and this Bigfoot fight it out, and then they never see the Bigfoot again, but they keep seeing the Dogman. So they're thinking this Dogman killed the Bigfoot in the area, or either ran him out. Who knows? I mean, it's like I said, it's just so much to follow. And it's just so much information out there because you're learning more and you're getting more different things every day about this creature.
Yeah, it's weird that you mentioned the blue light. A couple of my friends, I actually had these guys to speak at the con this year, the NC Squatch Watchers.
Yeah.
They have reported seeing flashes of or pulses of blue light when they're experiencing Bigfoot activity.
Right.
And it's just weird that you would say that. And they have also, we've talked about it a little bit. Possibly, maybe it's a energy pulse, maybe from them coming through a dimensional doorway.
And yeah, it's possible. I mean, here's my theory when I was doing Bigfoot research. And like I said, this is my theory, and everybody has their own theory about the UFO connection. For a long time, I never really believed there was a Bigfoot UFO connection. Okay. And the reason why I believe it is I believe that I don't think they're aliens. I don't think they're aliens' pets. I don't think that they're convicts from some planet. I've heard that before. That's being released for. Could extraterrestrials be abducting them as well as abducting humans? Think about this. If Bigfoot is a primate, he probably has some type of human DNA, okay, in him. Okay, so maybe what they're doing is extracting his DNA for whatever purpose as well as human DNA. Or they could be mind controlling him to do things for them, lift heavy stuff, maybe abduct other humans, whatever, who knows? I mean, because it's one of these things that could just make your mind go. You just don't know, but I don't think they're alien connected as far as their Bigfoot being extraterrestrial. But I believe that, they're being abducted just like us. And when people see them walk out of a spaceship, they're being released. Possibility, or they are doing some type of work, for the aliens, mind control or, something to that effect. Because, think about it, a species like Bigfoot, he is probably has common sense than intelligence.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard for a cryptid to have both. And the case of Dogman, I think he's got both. I mean, these are problem-solving entities. These creatures are, and they're, I think they have common sense. But Bigfoot, I think he has common sense. over intelligence. Common sense keeps you alive. Intelligence really doesn't. You know,
Yeah.
you take someone, like you and me, and put us out in the field, and you take someone like Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. Who's going to survive? We will, because we have common sense. He's too intelligent to figure basic things out. I mean, I hate to use that type of scenario, but that's what I'm saying. He's able to deal with things and he knows how to not walk in front of a vehicle or a truck. He knows when he hears gunfire to move away. He knows if he sees someone with a gun, he moves away. He hears people. I mean, he has enough common sense to know that, it's dangerous. Stay away from it. He sees deers getting hit and all this stuff, so he's not going to cross that road unless it's necessary. So
My theories. One of the theories that I have with, I believe, at least 90% of sightings that are occurring today with Bigfoot, folks are seeing juveniles. And the reason why they're seeing juveniles is because juveniles are young. They haven't been. The
right.
older, the adults know better by humans to be called out in the open. And I truly that 90% of the sightings that are being seen across the unit is juvenile sightings.
I agree with you. I mean, most animals' coding blends into the environment. Okay, you could probably walk by Bigfoot and you wouldn't know it. I mean, how many times have you walked in the woods and you saw a rabbit just bail out right in front of you, or a deer bail out right in front of you? You didn't see it.
Oh yeah,
until he moved. I mean, I had a Bigfoot sighting when I was in the Army. I had 3 other guys with me, and this was in Grayling, Michigan. And we did not see him. We literally did not see him until he moved when we backed the vehicle up. He was about 10, 12, 15 feet in front of us. And this is in daylight. And we didn't recognize him because he blended in with the trees standing there. He was that big. And, when he moved, when we backed the vehicle up, we thought we hit a tree or a tree was falling. I mean, Bigfoot walk was not the first thing that came to our mind. A tree was falling when he moved. And then as he moved, then we were able to see the arms move. We saw the legs move. We saw his head turn. We never noticed any of that, as he moved at first, because we thought it was a freaking tree.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, they blend in with the environment because they know how to blend into the environment. I mean, I talked to this. This is real kind of funny. I talked to a hunter in Adams County. Okay, where Mike Feltner and those guys had their sighting at.
Yeah.
Not in that particular area, but that county. And this hunter, he's walking through the woods, and he kind of comes around this bend, and he sees a Bigfoot standing there by a tree. And this tree branch came down like this. And he's standing behind the tree branch, but he was able to see the waist and the legs of the Bigfoot. But he was able to see the Bigfoot kind of move, his eyes and stuff in the tree. Like the Bigfoot was hiding behind his branch, but the rest of his body was showing, like, oh, this guy's not going to see me. And it was kind of hilarious. And he thought it was kind of hilarious too. So he kind of like kept on going, like, oh, I don't see you. I'm moving on, But it was kind of hilarious. I mean, and that's something a juvenile would do. I think a grown adult or female would never have done that. But I thought that was really, really funny. Where this one was just hiding behind a branch, tree branch to come down, like, oh, you can't see me. Yeah, interesting.
And going back to Dogman, a lot of folks don't realize. I'm sure you know that Dogman has been been depicted for thousands of years, starting back far as back. One instance comes to mind: N.A.D.P from the Egyptian
Anubis, yeah.
times,
Mm-hmm.
depicted as a deity with a dogman head,
I'm sorry.
and it's just crazy the way things are brought to light, especially with Dogman. The stories of supposed werewolves in different areas of Europe. So I believe these creatures have been around for who knows how long.
I mean,
Really,
Greek mythology, Viking lore, Catholic religion. The original Saint Christopher had a dog head.
yeah,
And the church ended up putting a human head on him because they knew people were not going to pray to a dog-headed saint because they considered that a pagan. Which the Christian religion basically came from, pagans. But that's one instance. Like I said, Greek mythology, you had King Lycan, which was a king that had a dog-headed, head. There's a legend out of the Middle East. I don't want to. Oh my God, I can't think of where it was. But there was a race of dog-headed men that would come into the villages and trade with the people in the village.
yeah,
So you had all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, the Native Americans, let me this is interesting. There's when you look at like Native American culture, people don't realize the entity at the bottom of a totem pole is the top dog. Okay, that's the one they worship the most. The one at the bottom of the totem pole, not the one at the top. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that. So when you look at different cultures, with different things of what they've seen, there's a Northwest Coast Indians had some type of drawings or some type of artwork of a creature which was a wolf that walked like a man. Okay, and actually,
yeah.
let me get this. This is one of the masks right here, if I can get through here, of the wolf that walks like a man. Okay, you can see it's very different from most carvings that First Nations do of a wolf because it's more elongated, the head going this way. This one, the head is up and you see the high pointed ears on it. You see the snout, with the teeth and everything. And this is an interesting, and this was a carving that was given to me by a friend of mine with the First Nation. His father did this back in the 1930s of a creature that he saw. And this is a carving of what he saw. And it was the wolf that walked like a man. Very interesting, some of the stuff that, every culture, has of these creatures. Now, Europe, they don't call them dogman. They call them werewolves. The UK, they call them werewolves. The Americans, we call them dogman. Yeah. I kind of like don't like the name Dogman. I think Man Dog would have been a better name to come up with, for this entity. Werewolf is, when we think of werewolf, we think of Lon Chaney's werewolf, a man that turns into a wolf. But this is something totally different. Totally different. We like the story of the Beast of Chavardin. Back in France, I think in the 16th century, where this animal went around and killing everybody. They said it was a wolf. I do not think it was a wolf. I don't think it was a werewolf. What I believe it is, from the descriptions of the animal, it was a hyena. And the reason why I say that, because it was not uncommon for royalty to have exotic animals. And hyenas was one of the animals that royalty in France loved. And I think one got out and it was creating havoc. And it did. If you look at the descriptions of the animal, this thing was not a wolf. It was most likely a hyena, that was doing all this.
Yeah. They even described it as the higher at the shoulder than the hindquarters.
Right.
And that's to me, common sense tells me it sounds just like a hyena.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even the teeth. I mean, you look at a hyena. The teeth structure is much different than a typical wolf. And let me show you this. This is the teeth structure of a hyena. Okay, and if you can see the teeth here. Okay, this was made for breaking bone. This was made for ripping. This is very different from what a typical canine would be. Something like this, and that's why I'm thinking the beast of Chevron Dawn was definitely some type of hyena type creature, and not a werewolf, not a wolf. A wolf couldn't have done the damage that was done to these people.
A lot of some of the reports that you're getting, what would be probably the most that you've heard a witness tell you?
Oh, geez. There was two of them that came out of Kentucky. One was a woman her husband was at work. It was late in the evening. They were her and her kids were finishing up a television show, and they heard the door open. They heard the handle on the door turn and the door open. Well, they thought, Dad was coming home. And this Dogman walks in from the hallway into the living room and stands there, and she's grabbing the kids, trying to hide from this thing and putting the kids in the corner and pushing a chair up to them. And she was going to sacrifice herself for the kids. And it just was standing there looking at them and just kind of like sniffing around a little bit and walked out. I mean, that was an incredible story. This woman, she had no reason to lie about this. She was crying when she was telling the story. When I was talking to her, she was serious as a heart attack on this thing. And, she goes, we were seeing kind of odd things before this happened. And as soon as it happened, never had any other contact, haven't seen any of the strange things that were going on afterwards. It was like it was scoping the house out, scoping the area out, came in and, saw it was just, I guess, a woman and her kids. And it wasn't a threat to them. And it left and never came back. And then one of the other stories was this guy is sitting in his living room and his dog's going total batshit, Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but, bat crazy.
It's all right.
And he gets up and he's like, "What's going on? What are you barking at?" And he's got like one of those little doors that the dog comes in and out of. And he says this werewolf is trying to come through the little, door on the, with the dog comes through. The head's in and the arm. Yeah, and he says this arm was human. It was a human arm, but the head was like a wolf. And the dog's barking at it. And it's, like kind of like got stuck there. And so he gets his gun. And, he's trying to load his gun and looking at this thing. And the thing's trying to get through the door. And he said the door's freaking shaking like this. He thought the door was going to come off the hinges. He was going to break the door trying to get out. And then finally got out and took off. Those are pretty intense, scary stories. that these guys, these two people were telling. I mean, we get stuff like this all the time. Some of the weirdest, things. We got this one, which is really interesting. Akron, Ohio. And I believe this is a Dogman, 100%. This woman's driving down the road, going to work. She sees police officer pulled over. Now, it's a 4-lane highway, okay, with this concrete dividers in the middle. She sees something laying in front of this police car or behind the police car, okay? And the police officer's looking at it. So she's driving by. She gets into the lane closest to the police car. No other traffic's on the road, so she's slowing down. So she sees this large canine dog, which she said was about 7 feet, laying there. And this officer was just looking at his hand on his face like this. So she goes on. So what she did, she has a friend that lives up, a little bit closer, and they normally pass each other going to work. So she calls them and says, listen, look and see on your way to work what's going on. So he comes down. So the roads on their side, her side was blocked off. So people are driving real slow, seeing what's going on. And he calls her. He said, man, you ain't going to believe this. They've got a bear on a gurney and sticking it in an ambulance. And they said the DNR's there, the police is there, and, they're putting a bear on a gurney. So what happens is the media ends up showing up, and the media tells the police, you got to go talk to the DNR. Okay. So the media calls the DNR and says, hey, what's going on with this bear being hit? And they go, oh yeah, bear got hit going across the road. Here are some pictures. Well, the pictures that they sent were a black bear laying on a piece of plastic on a dirt road with these big tags in its ears. And the witness said there were no tags in the ear. She said this was a dog. It had a tail. And she saw the back of it, the head, because the arms and the legs were facing towards the barrier. And she said what's in this picture was not what we saw. So when they asked the DNR, why didn't you put it in the back of the pickup truck that was there instead of putting it into a clean ambulance? And they said, well, we had to go check for rabies. And an ambulance, a sterile medical vehicle, you stick a dirty animal that could have distemper, could have rabies, and you put them in a sterile ambulance. Doesn't make any sense. Now, all this took in 23 minutes. Have you ever seen the DNR and the police clean up a bear or, a dead animal off the road in 23 minutes? No. If your deer's off the road, it's sitting there stinking for about a week before the buzzards eat it.
Yeah.
They don't do it. And this was absolutely nuts. Here's a case that didn't make any sense. Why would you put it in an ambulance? What this thing was, I would bet $1 million that this was a Dogman that got hit by a car, and they knew what it was, and they got rid of it fast before people knew what was happening. Because
they put it in the ambulance.
I'm sorry?
They put it in that ambulance so that people couldn't see it.
They put it in the ambulance, for people couldn't see it and to take it someplace for whatever purpose. But the odd thing is that the DNR or the police could not provide any information of the ambulance company to the media. And when the media posted it on the internet, on their website, about this incident, the reporter even said something's not right. We can't get a hold of the ambulance company. There's no reason why you would stick a filthy animal in a sterile ambulance, because everything in that ambulance would have to be destroyed. Every single piece of equipment inside there, you would have to get rid of, because you just don't know what that animal had. It doesn't make sense. I've never, ever heard of unless it was a zoo animal or an animal in some type of, captivity structure or something like that, why you would put it on a gurney and move it in an ambulance, or some other type of vehicle. It just doesn't make any sense. So I really think this was a Dogman that got hit, because Akron is well known for a lot of Dogman sightings in that area, that particular area. A lot of people have seen them cross that road.
That's correct. But I'm not going to keep you any longer. I know you're a busy man, and I'm go and talking with me
Not a
about this
problem.
and sharing your experiences. But where can folks get a hold of you if they want to report a Dogman sighting?
Go to www.northamericandogmanproject.com. There's a page to report a sighting. There's a page to join. Go there, look for our Facebook page. If you can't find the North American Dogman Facebook page, you can probably find one of the other chapter pages that's there. And, for your state, if you're just look on Facebook for, Minnesota North American Dogman Project, Minnesota chapter, or whatever. You'll be able to find it on there. You can look for Joedy Cook on Facebook. You can send me a message. My email address is oc4bfs@hotmail.com. So it's Oscar Charlie Bravo Frank Sierra @hotmail.com. Send me a message there.
Awesome. Well, once again, Joedy, I thank you so much for being on the show tonight. And folks, like I said, this is the last cryptid researcher, Dogman or Bigfoot, anything like that I'm doing. I'm done. I'm done with all this stuff. And but I want to thank everybody for that's watched tonight. Hope you guys once again, Joedy, I thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Guys, we're signing off here. You all have a great Friday night, and God bless.